Oopsies. I want to get some tomato here. There you go. Orzo salad. Alright, we've got the salad ingredients here. Relatively simple. I've split up into single batch and double batch measurements. I'm going to be making a double batch, but just so that there wasn't any confusion, I've listed the proportions if you were making a single batch. So it's mostly simple stuff. Orzo is basically a pasta. It looks a whole lot like rice, tastes good. Ingredients are as shown. For the basil and mint, it's the volume after it's been chopped. For the vinaigrette, if you want to cut down the olive oil a bit, you can, and increase the vinegar if you like a stronger taste. I personally do, but I've kept it simple. Part of why I make a double batch is I think that the normal advised amount of chickpeas, which is about a whole can, is way too much for a single batch. It's a whole lot of chickpeas to eat, so I just have it and I choose to make it as a double batch. The original author of this recipe is Giada de Laurentiis. I've linked the original recipe in the description. I received this recipe from my aunt, but upon searching the ingredients, I found that it was from this lady, so I've attached it below. I made a couple changes, mainly doubling the vinaigrette is the biggest one, but with no further ado, on to the recipe. Okay, let's get started. So you want to do this well in advance. I'd say about 2 hours of prepping the rest of your ingredients. So for a single batch recipe, you're going to use 4 cups of chicken broth or vegetable broth, whatever you want to use. For a double batch, you're going to use 8 cups. So I'm going to prep the broth here real quick. And given the broth or the chicken stock I'm using, it's 1 slightly rounded teaspoon for 250 mils of water. So I need to add about 4 teaspoons there. Oopsies. Comically large spoon, just to mix it up, make sure it dissolves. You're going to want to bring this to a boil, so I used pre-boiled water here, so this should be quick. So that's my first set of 4 cups. I'm making a double batch here, so I'm going to be doing 8 cups. Okay, I ran out of water, give me a second. We use the less hot water, it would just take a little longer to boil. Nothing too offensive. Okay, use some water from the tap. It's not quite as hot. It'll just take a little bit longer to boil, but it's fine. It is what it is. I'm gonna finish prepping the rest of the stock here. Okay. There we go. So for now, you're just gonna wait for that to boil. I've got my 8 cups of stock in there. I'm gonna add a little water to finish it. Okay. It's got relatively high heat, just has to boil, and then we'll add the orzo. Okay. Now that our chicken stock is at a rolling boil, we're going to add, for a single batch, you're going to add 1.5 cups of orzo, or if you're doing a double batch, you're going to add 3 cups. And that's 3. You're going to want to bring this back up to temp. Keep stirring it. If I can get a single spat. Okay. There you go. So just simmer that. Try to bring it back up to temp. You're going to cook it until it's slightly firm, but cooked all the way through. So that's going to take a few minutes here. Alright, so this is done. It's firm to the bite, but not hard in the center. So at this point, you can get ready to pour it off. because my usual strainer is too fine for this, I'm going to use a mesh strainer. So now that this is done, I'll clean up the rest of the grains a little bit later. And you can take a little bit of aluminum foil, just put it on top. Be careful, as it's likely very, very hot. So I've done this in a metal bowl. That way it cools faster. After about 30 minutes, once it's cooled a fair bit, it's going to go in the fridge for about an hour and a half. You want this to completely cool and almost solidify a bit. The starch will help it become relatively gelatinous, and then we'll be back to do the actual cutting. Okay, so just so you're aware, you can also do this. So this is what's called a thermal jacket. Heat sink, water bath, whatever you want to call it. You fill up enough water to just go up to the brim of your pot, and then you just float it. Make sure to keep the lid on. This ensures that bacteria and other stuff doesn't get on your hot food and cause issues later down the line. So just cover your food. The water, because it's heavier than air, it transfers the temperature much, much quicker. So this has been in the bath for about 30 minutes, and already it's room temperature. So at this point, I can transfer it to the fridge for the remaining hour or so, just to quickly cool off. This takes about 30 minutes to an hour off of the cooling time required. So it's really just a really good time-saving measure. And it floats, it's cool. Okay, so we're going to make the vinaigrette. In the recipe, the vinaigrette listed, I haven't decided which one I'm going to list, but for me, it's listed as a double batch. For you, it'll probably be listed as a single batch. So if you're doing a single batch, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. However, due to the fact that I am doing a double batch, I'm going to be doing a 1/2 cup. So, single batch, 1/4 cup red wine vinegar, double batch, 1/2 cup. Now, for the next ingredient, you're going to add in some lemon juice. Okay, so for the lemon juice, if you're doing a single batch, you're going to do 1/8 cup. If you're doing a double batch, you're going to do 1/4 cup. Trick here is not to cut yourself, or to use a cutting board. Remember to use stainless steel when you're cutting lemons or other citrus. Oh, nice. So it just amounts to. Okay, so single batch. That's a 1/8 cup, half a lemon. But I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to juice the other half to get a 1/4 cup lemon juice total. So that's the lemon juice done. Then you're going to add in a bit of honey. So the honey is 1 teaspoon for a single batch, 2 teaspoons for a double. So I'm going to do just a little bit under a tablespoon here, because there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. I whipped completely. Okay, that's about 2 teaspoons of honey. Count the stuff I spilled. Oh. Hands are clean, don't worry. Okay, so that's the honey done. And then you're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt for a single batch, or a whole teaspoon of salt for a double batch. I'm doing a double, so I'm going to add the whole teaspoon of salt. Okay. And then you're going to do about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, or 1 teaspoon of black pepper if you're doing the double batch. Okay. So I did a whole teaspoon, or sorry, that's 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to do the other half because I'm doing a double batch. Alright. So, with that done, we just have to add the olive oil. So, if you're doing a single batch, you are going to do 3/8 cup. I know it's a messed up measurement. I've got a 3/4 cup here. So, if you're doing single batch, 3/8 cup, or just do a little under half a cup. If you want to estimate it, just do a little under half a cup. I have a 3/4 cup here because I'm doing a double batch. I'm just going to pour that out. If you do too much, it ends up super duper oily, which you don't want. You really want to err on the side of caution here. So, that's the vinaigrette. Let me grab a spat. This tech allows you to really, really whisk quickly. I know it looks silly, like I'm starting a fire, but it's actually really good technology, especially if you have like a glass container or metal container with really high sides so it doesn't splatter everywhere. Don't do this otherwise. Okay. So this is relatively well emulsified, I'm not sure if you can tell. Everything's mixed up really, really well together. Now, it's been about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. My stuff is sufficiently cooled down. I'm gonna grab it from the fridge. Oh. So you're gonna take it, throw it in a big bowl. Well, that's got a little water left. Doesn't hurt, it was just cleaned recently. Oh. So you can see it's kind of congealed. That's exactly what you want. Give me just a moment here. Gonna get a hard spat, just break it up a bit. You really want to get that surface area up. So the starch and I think some gelatin or something from the chicken stock is what makes it congeal like this. But this is how you know when it's done cooling, is when it's completely congealed. Gonna give it one last quick whisk, make sure everything's still together. I can see the oil's kind of separated out a little bit. Okay, pretty good. You're gonna pour that in. Use a spat to finish the job. Okay. Just gonna mix that vinaigrette in and allow it to start soaking into the orzo. The more time you leave it to soak, the better, ideally a couple hours. But in the meantime, we're just gonna get this in and then we're gonna do the vegetables and whatnot. Alright, so we're gonna get what should be about half a cup after chopping, or 1/4 of a cup if you're doing a non-double batch. I want to pick somewhat sustainably here. I don't want to pick all from one plant, or all from one set of leaves here. Okay, that should be all the basil we need. Alright, so now for the rest of the vegetable ingredients for the orzo salad, we're going to start with the mint. If you're doing one batch, you're going to do 1/8 of a cup, or sorry, 1/4 of a cup of fresh mint, and if you're doing double, you're going to do about half a cup. So, you just want to loosely put it in. Okay, that's about 1/4 of a cup. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to do another 1/4. You know what? I'm just going to round this all up and put it in. I know it's about 1/4. Okay. And then, for a single batch, you're going to do half a cup of chopped basil, which I just picked from the garden. Or if you're doing a full batch, you're going to do about a whole cup of chopped basil. It's a little under. It's about 3/4 of a cup. Or between there. I'm going to throw that in. And now, if you're doing one batch, you're going to chop one onion about 3/4 of a cup. Or you're going to chop 2 onions if you're doing a double batch for about 1.5 cups onion. So that's the onions. So, lastly, you're going to do about 3 cups of teardrop tomatoes. Now, I gotta wash these real quickly here. Oh, I guess it's the second last item. It's been relatively well washed. And in the meantime, you're gonna get your can of chickpeas here. Oh. And you're also gonna strain and rinse these. Let them dry a little bit. I'm gonna use stainless steel for this because I don't want it rust. Or sorry, it's not gonna rust. And what you're gonna do here is you're just gonna split them nicely in half. It's a little hard to do if you don't have a sharp knife, but thankfully these are pretty generous. Just take it slow, make sure you don't slip and cut yourself. Okay, so if you're doing a single batch, you're going to do about a cup and a bit. So that's 1 cup. That's about a half. Now, if you're doing a double batch, you're going to do a total of 3 cups here. So that's about a cup. So we're just under 3 cups, but we're not going to buy another package for this, right? So it ends up being about 2.5 cups. Is what it is, but it's enough. So with that, all your ingredients should be in the salad. And I use the term salad very loosely here. Oh, I lie. Forgot the chickpeas. Oh. Now remember, if you're doing a single batch, it's going to be half that amount of chickpeas. So this can, 580 mils, sorry, 540 mils. You just want to get a can about half that size, or make a double batch, or use the other half for something else. Whether it be a soup, a stew, whatever. Now, you're going to want to leave this for about 2 to 3 hours to really let the flavor soak in. I'm going to aluminum foil it in the meantime. But once that's done, you should have an incredibly flavorful salad, and it gets better by the day. So at this point, it's been about an hour, hour and a half, and it's had some time for the flavors to come out. Oopsies, I want to get some tomato here. There you go. Orzo salad. Tastes way, way better 1 hour after it was made than it did at the time it was made. I taste tested. Huge flavor difference. You want to get about 2 hours for the flavors to really get into the orzo. Ideally 3, maybe 4. So make this in the morning for dinner, or make it the night prior for lunch the next day. That's my advice. All right, happy cooking.